And so here we are on the backside of the 40 days of the Lenten season, having been through the work that is required to transform the soul. And on Friday, we had an opportunity to look at those things that have served their purpose and are no longer needed, and we made a conscious and intentional decision to nail those things to the cross, recognizing that we have the power to cross out and eliminate that which we no longer need. And then comes Sunday. And the scripture reminds us that Mary Magdalene was at the tomb, and as she arrived at the tomb, the stone had been rolled away. And when Mary noticed that the stone had been rolled away, she immediately went and got Peter and one of the other disciples, and they all ran back to the tomb to try to understand what happened, because if the stone has been rolled away, something must have happened. When they arrive at the tomb, they find evidence that Jesus was there, but they don't find Jesus there. And I like the way Luke describes it, because Luke says that they were looking for the living among the dead. How many people are looking for you where you used to be? They don't know that you've changed. They don't know that you've evolved. They don't know that you moved out of that zip code. They don't know that you don't hang out in the same places. They don't know that you're changed, but they're looking for you in the same old dead experience they remember you in. And so then as they become concerned about their inability to find Jesus, Jesus finds a way to communicate with Mary. And when Mary realizes that it's Jesus, she says, Rabboni, which means teacher, teacher, I'm excited to see you again. And when Mary finds out that Jesus is there, she goes and she tells the other disciples. And what the lesson is that we can all take from that quick narrative of the resurrection experience is that Jesus got up and he kept it moving. But what I want to look at before we get to the celebration of Jesus keeping it moving, I just want to look at what happened in between the time that the tomb was closed and the tomb was open. Because the work is not necessarily in what happens once the tomb is open. The real true work is what happens in between the time that the door is closed and the door opens up again. See, many of us want to hurry up and run to the other side of the challenge, but we don't remember, or we don't recognize that if you run past the problem too soon and you haven't learned the lessons that you are supposed to learn, then the problem will revisit you in a new season in your life. And so there is something to be gained, say gained, from the time that the tomb is closed and the tomb is open. There is work that must take place in the soul before you are ready to experience the glory of the resurrection you've been shouting about. One of the things that I appreciate about Jesus as the master teacher is that even before he began to experience the trauma of this experience, before he went through a single thing, he said to us, these things that I do. You should be able to do some of these things too. As a matter of fact, the way he put it, he put a really serious onus on us, because if I understand the scripture right, really the way he said it is these things that I do, greater things than these. Yeah, I know I wasn't going to get a real good amen on that right there. And so we recognize that Easter is the celebration of the resurrection of Jesus. And its inner meanings are spiritual. And they speak to the awakening and the raising of the spiritual aspect of each and every one of us. But just like Jesus, we all show up with a purpose. And just like Jesus, That purpose helps us stand up, stand out, and stand strong. But one of the things that you should know about having a purpose that is given to you from God, and one of the things that we should see from the resurrection story, is that sometimes even in the pursuit of purpose, the heartache of disappointment, negativity, self-doubt, and upset can knock us back just a little bit. You see, the problem for many people is that they want to play big, but their habit and their self-sabotage keeps forcing them back into the box of playing small. See, sometimes it's because of fear, and sometimes it's because of impatience, and sometimes it's because we won't ask for what we need, and sometimes it's because all we can hold in our mind is the worst case scenario. But whatever it is, I want to just encourage you to look at the tomb that is in front of you before you run out, because you need to identify the habits and the behaviors that will bring you back into a dead experience if you don't get the lesson along with the blessing. Are you with me? See, it doesn't matter what course you decide on. There is always something or someone to tell you that you're wrong. There are always difficulties arising which attempt to make us believe that our critics are right. And oftentimes the biggest critic is the one in our own head. So what I want you to realize is that as we celebrate the resurrection, you are the one who can change your experience and move your life forward. See, you can move without getting up, but you can't get up without moving. Are you with me? And if you will shift your mindset, what you'll realize is that there are many choices available to you, maybe even more choices than you realized at the start. See, we all have choices, and in every moment we are always at choice. And if you choose to walk with God, know that that walk won't always be easy. There was a study that was done in 1962, and in this study, one of the things that they looked at in looking at 413 what they called famous and exceptionally gifted people, they were looking at what was the common thread that made these 413 gifted and exceptional people, what was it that made them great? And as they examined their lives and their experiences and their histories and their contributions, the thing that was the common thread, the single thing that ran through almost every one of their experiences, 392 of these people had the same experience, and the thing that tied them to their greatness was the difficulty and the struggle and the hardship that they went through. So if you intend to be great, know that it's going to come at a great price. See, I don't want you to believe that God has put greatness in you and you're going to be able to get that greatness out without going through something. Life is a school, and there is greatness in you. But you got to be willing to go through something if you're going to get to the other side of bringing forth the greatness that God placed in you. That's why I like there's a line in the song that I like. It says, "My trials come to make me strong." And then he says, "But I'm getting stronger every day." So how much trouble do you have to get stronger every day? Just a question. So then what I want to give you in the time that we are together is three but small important steps that will help you roll back the stone so that you can get your life on track and so that you can get up and keep moving. And these 3 steps are just 3 shifts in mind. Say a shift in mindset. These are just small shifts in mindset. It's not going to force you to do a lot. Just say it's a small shift in mindset. But these small shifts in mindset can create powerful long-term health, success, and happiness for you. It can create freedom for you if you can just make these 3 small shifts in mindset. Are you with me? So then the first shift that I want to encourage you to make, the first shift I want to encourage you to make is the shift to move your faith. Say, move your faith. The first shift I want to encourage you to take is the shift to move your faith. See, how many of you know that it's easy to have faith when everything is fine? Oh, yeah, y'all ain't been through much. Let me try over here. How many of you know that it's easy to have faith when everything is fine? That's what I'm talking about. I'm trying to make sure I'm talking to the people who've been through a little something. But know that faith is more than idle wishing. Faith is more than idle wishing. Faith, according to Hebrews, is the substance of things hoped for, yeah? The evidence of things. We say that faith is the perceiving power of the mind linked with the power to shape substance. So faith is not something that you do or don't have. Faith is something you already have. Are you with me? Not only that, you have faith, but there is no one in this room, no one on this platform, no one in the rows in front of you who has more faith than you. Are you all right with that? There is no one who can take the quality of faith from you that God has given you. Are you with me? And not only do you have faith, but you are faith. You still with me? And so what I'm asking you to move is not something that's outside of you. I'm asking you to move something that's inside of you. Okay? So each of us has the power of faith, but it's possible that that faith is underdeveloped. Say underdeveloped. See, when an underdeveloped power exists within us, it causes us to be unable to meet an experience that is calling us to use the power that the experience is calling us to use. What am I saying? I'm saying that when faith is being challenged, we will find ourselves being distrusting, doubtful, skeptic, and suspicious about many things that are happening in our lives. And so those things come so that our faith can be strengthened. So there are 3 areas of faith that I want you to move on. Are you still with me? Put this in your notes. Put this in your notes. The 3 areas of faith that I want you to move on. The first area of faith is the area of hope. Say hope. When we're talking about hope, as we mean it in this context, hope is the stimulus to keep moving forward even when we feel like giving up. See, I don't know about you, but I have to imagine that as Jesus is in this tomb, there is something that says to him, I might not be able to come out of this experience. How can you say that, Rev? Well, because when he was on the cross, according to the scripture, there was one point where he said, my God, why have you forsaken me? So if he can doubt while he's on the cross, he can definitely doubt while he's in the tomb. Are you with me? Yes. Let me say it to you this way. If you can doubt when the cutoff notice appears, you can definitely doubt when they put your stuff out on the street. If you can doubt when it says they're going to come get the car, you can definitely doubt when you look out the window and the car is gone. If I can doubt when we have our first argument, I can definitely doubt when I hear you ain't coming home tonight. I want to be where we live. Are you with me? And so then I'm saying that as we move our faith, we also have to be able to move our hope. And as we move our hope, we commit ourselves to not giving up, even though the appearance looks very dire. Are you with me? The second area where I'm asking you to move your faith is in the area of your blind faith. Say blind faith. Now we say that blind faith is just an instinctive trust in God. So I'm asking you to right here, right now, just trust that God has you just like God has always had you. I'm asking you to move as if God's got you, even if you don't understand how it is or why it is, God has got you. I'm asking you, even if you don't feel like you deserve to be blessed, to just open your mind and heart up to the blessing that already exists for you. Are you with me? The third area where I'm asking you to move your faith is the area of understanding faith. And understanding faith is the faith that understands the law that is back of what we are putting into the world. Are you still with me? So when I'm asking you to use understanding faith, I'm asking you to be willing to squeeze the orange of your faith and expect the juice to come out. See, when you put your faith to work, your faith has to move on the situation that you're in. So you don't have to doubt if God is in the midst of your experience. Are you with me? So then we can stay with the practice of faith. And when we stay with the practice of faith, it's one of the things that begins to move the cover or the stone away from the tomb of the difficult experience that thinks it has us locked in. I don't know about you, but I'm coming out today. I'm coming out today. I'm coming out today. I refuse to let anything in my life, world, and affairs keep me from coming out. I'm coming out. Come on, let's get it then. See, when you commit yourself to coming out, what that means is you will commit yourself to also being a faith thinker. Say, I am a faith thinker. See, all of us have the ability to use our faith faculty. But the challenge for many people, not you, but the challenge for many people is that we are indoctrinated, educated, and molded in the form or after the form of average thought patterns. And so average thought patterns can only yield to us average experiences. So God has placed greatness in you so that you will have what you need to overcome the difficult experiences, but average thinking will not get you through a difficult challenge. See, the larger the challenge, the greater your faith must be. Are you with me? And so when you find yourself face to face with a diagnosis that you don't know how to overcome, that's not the time to play small. That's the time to get big and allow yourself to think along the lines of the faith that can bring you through it. Are you still with me? So faith thinkers are not just relying on the intellectual process of how they reason. Faith thinkers are not overly concerned with how stuff appears. Faith thinkers are not biased because it's not been done before. See, listen, just because God hasn't done it yet doesn't mean that God can't do it now. I don't know about you, but I'm believing that if I walk by faith and not by sight, there's something on the other side of what I don't see. Faith enables us to be more decisive, but it demands that we make a decision. And so what I'm saying to you is, if you intend to roll back the stone and come out of the dead experience, you've got to make a decision. You have to make a decision. You have to make a decision and know that if you decide to stay put, that is in effect making a decision. So anytime we choose to have less, say choose to have less, we are making a decision. We've got to be willing to walk by faith and not by sight. I love the story of this tightrope walker who would do incredible feats. And he would do them in sequential order. So he would do succeeding acts. So first he would just walk across the tightrope. And then he would walk across the tightrope with a blindfold. And then he would walk across the tightrope while pushing a wheelbarrow. And so there was this promoter in America who wrote to him in Paris and said, tightrope, I don't believe that you're doing all of that. He said, I want to bring you to the United States and I want to challenge you to a tightrope across the Niagara Falls. And he said, I'm willing to bet you that you can't do it. So tightrope came to the United States of America and they put one side of the tightrope on Canada, they put the other side of the tightrope on the United States. And tightrope walked the tightrope from Canada over the Niagara Falls to the other side of the United States. When he got to the other side, he said to the promoter, now do you have faith that I can do it. The promoter said, I absolutely have faith that you can do it. I just saw you do it. Tightrope said, no, no, no. I'm asking you, do you have faith that I can do it? He said, yes, I have faith that you can do it. I just saw you walk from the Canadian side to the American side. He's, no, 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 no. You're missing what I'm asking you. He says, I'm asking you, do you have faith that I can do it? He says, yes, I believe you have faith that you can do it. Why you keep asking me that? He said, because what I want you to do is get in the wheelbarrow and let me push you while we walk across. See, you sometimes when you walk by faith, you're going to be required to get in the wheelbarrow and trust that God can bring you over the difficult experience. So sometimes I hear you in your prayer saying, God, I have faith that you can bring me through. But then when the wheelbarrow shows up, you say, I ain't getting in that. I don't know who that's for. We must be moving some lilies or something. Will you get in the wheelbarrow before the wheelbarrow gets in you? So you got to be willing to move your faith. Say, I'm going to move my faith. Next, you got to be willing to move your focus. Say, move your focus. Put this in your notes. Move your focus. You've got to be willing to move your focus whenever you find yourself in a difficult experience, whenever you're in a bind, whenever you're in a tough spot, whenever it looks like there is going to be more month than money, whenever the diagnosis does not agree with what you've been hearing in church, whenever there is a challenge, you've got to be willing to work the truth that you know. So while you're in the tomb, in between when the stone is rolled away and the stone is there, there is some work on the inside. You've got to be willing to move your faith. And then next, you've got to be willing to move your focus. See, when it comes to soul work, we sometimes fall into the habit of focusing on the obstacle rather than focusing on the opportunity. And most people don't realize that what they focus on is where they're going. I'll say it one more time. Because most people don't realize that what they focus on is where they're going. Let me say it to you this way. You've had questions about how you got here. I don't mean here like in this room. I mean here, like in the difficulty that might be facing you. You might not have no problems. If you don't have no problems, this lesson is not for you. Your stuff might be good. If it's good, to God be the glory. Keep doing what you're doing. But for those of us who find ourselves in a liminal space, I'm going to talk about a liminal space in a minute. For those of us who find ourselves in between the space of what we've been praying for and the manifestation of what we've been praying for, there is this opportunity. And what we focus on in that meantime will play a large part in what our experience is. Are you with me? So what we focus on is what we move toward. So when I'm focusing on feeling unworthy, when I'm focusing on my personal doubts, when I'm focusing on what they said about me, when I'm focusing on how it seems like everything is going to hell in a handbasket, when I'm focusing on what your issues are, that is creating for me experiences because my focus is attracting to me an opportunity. Are you still with me? So it's not just about focusing on what's in front of me. I hope you just wrote that down. It's not just about focusing on what's in front of you. See, the obstacle might be in front of you, but the opportunity is on the other side of the obstacle. So you have to be able to see beyond the obstacle so that you can get to the opportunity. Are you with me? Come on, let's go. So then, what is this obstacle about? What is the obstacle about? What is the stone about? Whenever there is a challenge, a difficulty, a problem in the soul of an individual, that challenge, difficulty, opportunity always shows up as an opportunity for learning. Hear me. The challenges are there to teach us. The question is, will we examine the lesson well enough to learn what we are supposed to learn? If you don't want to examine the lesson, you will try to run past the problem. But as I said to you earlier, running past the problem only kicks the can down the road. You don't like that? But I just want to help you know what you're focusing on. See, because God made you in such a way, that if you are an adult, so all of the adults in the room know that you learn by the experiences that you have. See, so adults learn by the problems that they are presented with to solve. And so it's not a problem if you can produce the solution. It's all right. Let's keep going. So let's talk about this liminal space. This space in between what happens in between when I've gone through one door and I've not yet entered in through the other door. What happens in between the space where we say when one door closes, another door opens? Because sometimes in between the door closing and the door opening, there is a hallway. So what's happening in the hallway of the soul? What's happening in the liminal space? What's happening in between that intermediate space from the time that I got the diagnosis and took the test until the time when the test results come? What's happening right there? Because that is a time that is requiring each of us to work the truth that we know. It's requiring us to move our focus so that we can go back and see that God is still mighty in the midst of us. So can I find God in the midst of the challenge? Can I find God in the midst of the difficulty? Can I find God in the midst of the hurt? Or am I willing to settle for the pain as a problem? I've got to be willing to move my focus. See, if I move my focus, it brings me back to the realization that the only thing I really have control over are the thoughts I think, the feelings I hold, and the behavior I execute. That's what I have control over. I have control over the thoughts I think, the feelings I hold, and the behavior I execute. So why is it important to rework my focus? Because for most of us, we think something like 60,000 thoughts per day, and nearly 80% of those thoughts are negative. So if my conditioning has me believing that the worst is about to happen, 80% of the time I've got to know how to shift my focus. Because I don't care what I think, God can think higher. Come on. So I have to be willing to move my faith. I got to be willing to move my focus. And then finally, I got to be willing to move my feet. Now, as many times as I've read the resurrection story, there is one element in there, and it just hit me like a ton of bricks this time. As I was reading and researching and poring over the story, there's this one piece that's missing when I see Jesus in the tomb. Before the time that the stone is rolled away, there is something that I noticed that's missing. And see, sometimes you can learn a lot by what's missing. And so I was fascinated by the notion that as Jesus is in this tomb, and while none of the gospel writers were there, but even in their imagination, They didn't add to the story that while Jesus was in the tomb, there is no report of Jesus talking. See, while Jesus is in the tomb, there is no report of Jesus talking. See, and there is a clear distinction between talk and action. And so there is such a phenomenon as people conversing so much that they can get the fulfillment of the experience out of talking about it without ever doing a thing. But what I love about Jesus is that he was not content to talk about coming out. Jesus started to do the things that would give him the ability to come on out. So there were wrappings that were around him that were suitable for this environment, but they were not suitable for the other environment. So he started taking off the stuff that didn't fit where he was going. I just gave him something right there, EB. He started taking off the clothes that didn't fit where he was going. See, part of the challenge is you're trying to take an old you into a new experience, and an old you cannot fit into the new experience that has been prepared for you. The question you gotta ask yourself is, what am I prepared to take off and leave in the dead space as I walk into the new space? See, if you're coming out, there are by necessity some things that you have to leave behind when you come out. I don't know who this is for, but there are some environments that you're trying to stay in, and you have to get out of those environments so the greatness that you are can come out. See, there are some people in those environments, and you've become comfortable with the fix that they provide in an environment that only offers you dead experiences. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. And so we sometimes find ourselves content waking up dead things and playing with them, hoping that they can bring us into the blessings that we've been praying for. But I've got news for you. If you intend to come out, you've got to prepare yourself by taking off that which you no longer need. You've got to shift your mind. You've got to shift your environment. You've got to change the stuff that no longer works, because what God has created you to be, eyes have not seen and ears have not heard, neither has entered into the heart of men what God has created you to be. So it's time to stop playing dead and get up with the living. It's time to come on out of there. It's time to come out of the dead experience. It's time to come out of dead thinking. It's time to come out of dead talk. It's time to come out of dead experiences. It's time to get away from dead people. Let them have that all by themselves. It's time to come up out of dead, broke pockets. No more dead, broke pocketbooks. I don't know about you, but today I'm getting up and I'm gonna keep it moving. God bless you. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. You will not take my life. No, no, let me get out. No, no, no. It's the Christ, no, Christ Universal Temple Ensemble. I want y'all to go. It's on me. I hope it's on you too. Because sometimes you got to shift the energy in your body. See, what you got to remember is your experience will listen to your mind. And so you've got to be willing to shift your mind so that the cells in your body will respond according to the lifted up mind. Pick your mind up out of the grave experience. You're too good for the grave. No, 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 no. You're too good for the grave. And so let them look for you where you used to be. And when they come to you and tell you, I remember when, all you got to do is tell them, yeah, baby, I know why you couldn't find me. because you were looking for the living among the dead. I'm living because I know how to honor myself. I'm living because I know how to support myself. I'm living because I know how to exhibit behaviors that tell me I love me. It don't matter if you don't love me, I love me. And I'm gonna get up out of any kind of experience that does not deserve me. The hospital does not deserve you. No, 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 no. That broken relationship, it does not deserve you. That fledgling business, it don't deserve you. That dead-end job or that silly boss, they don't deserve you. It's time to get up. See, the strongest always get up again. And hear me, hear me, hear me. It's not that you won't get knocked down. It's not that you won't get knocked down, because life has a way of knocking you down as a part of teaching you the lesson. But the strongest ones always get up again. 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 The strongest ones always. The strongest ones always. The strongest ones always. The strongest ones always. Now I know you. Are you ready to get up again? God bless you. No. It's your day of resurrection. It's your day of be reborn. It's your day of resurrection. This is your Easter celebration party. Listen. Jesus set this whole thing up just so you can have a party. It's your resurrection day. Come on, let me get out of here. Come on. Let me go. Let me sit down.